Hey guys, I hope you are doing well today. This is Evan from Coaster Evolution, and today we're going to be doing a rating video for Six Flags St. Louis. So I was there this summer for the first time, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, so let's go right into it. As normal, we're looking at the 10 categories that I have figured out: coasters, ride ops, overall experience, atmosphere, pricing, staff or park pride, park ops, theming, food, and cleanliness. Make sure to check out my Six Flags St. Louis tier list video up there in the card if you haven't already, because I will be using those to determine how many quality coasters that they have at the park. So, from my tier list video, they have 1 elite coaster, 2 great, 3 good, 2 okay, and 1 totally awful ride. So it's pretty much evenly spread like a pyramid at Six Flags St. Louis when it comes to their coasters. They've got 1 elite ride. Spoiler, I think that one is Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. It was so awesome, such a fun ride. And they've got a lot of other good Woodies in here that are in great or good. They've got a couple of okay rides, you know, they've got a Boomerang. They've got Ninja, which is absolutely terrible, which definitely brings it down. Very much middle of the road. You know, there's nothing that's truly a standout here. They don't have a kiddie coaster here, so that's a problem. Even though I don't ride kiddie coasters, I know that that's a big issue for a lot of people, a lot of families, so I'm definitely going to take off a couple points for that. But the main issue I have with these parks coasters are that every single one of them, almost every single one of them is a clone. Almost every single one. Let's go through them. Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast is a clone. American Thunder is a clone of, not a Six Flags Woody GCI, but it is a clone from a park in China. Batman the Ride is a clone. Pandemonium is a clone. Boomerang. Like, almost every coaster here is a clone of some sort. Even River King Mine Train was a racing coaster, so there's another side that's basically a clone that's just mirrored. So the only non-cloned rides are some of the older Woodies like the Boss, Screamin' Eagle, and Ninja. Which Ninja is a horrible ride anyway, so it doesn't really matter that it's not a clone. So I'm going to rate this park, you know, a respectable 6 out of 10. When it comes to coasters. So not bad. You know, they do have 9 roller coasters, which is a pretty good amount. But no true standout and no kiddie coaster. You know, it's very middle heavy, so it's not all that great. There are a lot of good and unique Woodies here, which is probably the main thing that Six Flags St. Louis has going for it, but there are definitely a lot of holes in this coaster lineup, so I'm going to keep it at a 6. Now onto ride operations. Also going to give them a 6, because they were a little bit above average, especially for a Six Flags park. You know, they were doing the best they could to get people in and out of the station as quickly as possible. But some of the park policies that they have don't allow their ride ops to be that good. So I experienced this at a couple of different Six Flags parks. But this was the first one that I noticed it to be a big issue. Is that, for example, at like a ride at like Batman, you know, they can crank trains out pretty quickly. It's a B&M monster. They can easily run 2 trains and have the next train loaded, ready to go very quickly. But they have these small area set out for bins for people to put all their stuff in. So you've got a train coming in, letting people off the ride, and they're all swarming to this one spot on the platform to get all their stuff out of the bins. And you also have another swarm of people going to the same bin to put their stuff in. So it just clogs everything up. And the ride ops are kind of yelling at people, hey, hurry up, you know, get on your seats and whatever, but they can't, you know, they have to wait for everybody else to get their stuff out of the bin. So it wasn't ideal. There were a couple other rides that were, you know, not opening on time. American Thunder was closed the whole time that I was there. It was closed just about all summer. I think it's back open now, but I'm not entirely sure. And Mr. Freeze, of course, has issues a lot, so, you know, ride-ups aren't the best, but definitely above average. They weren't bad by any means, so solid 6. Overall experience, I'm going to be coming back to. Atmosphere, it was actually a great atmosphere at the park. I would give it a 7, definitely above average. Pretty good. You know, nothing incredible, but there's a lot of greenery, a lot of trees, so that was really cool. It is kind of a terrain park built on the side of a hill, so some great views from some of the rides. You know, the park seemed pretty clean. Everyone seemed to be having fun. It seemed like there were a lot of families there, a lot of like younger kids too, surprisingly. But everyone was having a good time. The atmosphere was pretty good, so 7 out of 10. When it comes to pricing, it's definitely, you know, not the best. I would give it a 5. It's pretty average. You know, you're getting what you pay for. You're getting pretty average coasters. You're getting a lot of clones for the same price as it would be to get into Cedar Point. You know, put it in that perspective. It's going to be $50 for a ticket. I just checked on the website. It's about $50 for a ticket. not including, parking or food or anything like that. So it's relatively expensive, especially with Six Flags' new pricing schemes and whatnot, them increasing pricing a lot before increasing any park quality. So the pricing isn't the best, but it's still not bad. It's still definitely worth your money, especially if you're a coaster enthusiast looking to get some more credits, get on some rare woodies. It's still worth your time. Now on to staff and park pride. This is definitely where I could see the Six Flags parks falling short. So I'm going to give them a 4, just because it was definitely below average when it comes to staff and park pride. It wasn't that great. Right when we had issues right at the start when we tried to get through the front gate. Most of the employees in admissions didn't know what our platinum membership passes were, and these are the passes that they had, and these are the passes that they've had for a decade, it seems like. The employees could have been new, but they should know if they're having multiple different memberships or multiple different admissions, avenues. They need to know the products and be able to let people in. So they didn't know what it was, and initially didn't know what to do or to let us through. And that was a common theme at other Six Flags parks all summer long. So I'm definitely going to knock them big time for that. It's very frustrating when you spend a lot of money and you expect, the process to be nice and easy, scan you, get you in after getting through security, and it was just kind of a mess. A lot of the staff, anytime we had or tried to use the perks, getting our free drinks and stuff with our platinum membership, we couldn't because they tried scanning it and said that we didn't have it on the pass. But then we would go to somebody in admissions or talk to a supervisor and say that, oh yeah, you do have it. Well then, do we have to go jump through hoops every time we have to try to get food or try to get a drink or something with our pass discounts? It's just quite frustrating and really makes it not worth it. So it's definitely a bit frustrating there. The ride operators, a lot of them were really good, but a lot of the other staff definitely fell short. Food staff and admission staff didn't do so well. And some of the things I say you have to take with a grain of salt, because I was only there for one day. So it could have been a bad day. Could have gone to see people that, just didn't know what they were doing. So it's a small sample size, but that is my experience. So that's what I have to share and what I have to go off of. Now for park operations, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Very average. Nothing too bad. Nothing great, though. Nothing, above average by any means. So we didn't have to wait in lines much to get like food or drinks, which is nice because that was a big change from other Six Flags parks we had been to, which you had to wait half an hour in line to get a cup of water. A lot of the food locations were not open though, so that was really unfortunate. They had most of those things closed, and we were there in the middle of the summer, peak summer season in July, so you'd think that they would have a lot of the food stands open to be able to get food and get drinks and stuff, but a lot of them were closed. They didn't open a lot of the rides on time. A lot of the rides weren't operating at all, which is an issue, and it seemed like they were severely understaffed. So that's not great, and seems to be a common theme with Six Flags parks this summer, unfortunately. So that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. But it still seems to be more well-run than some of the other parks I'd been to. Cough, cough, Six Flags America. Moving on to theming, again, falling a little bit short, 4 out of 10. There's just no theming continuity in this park, and a lot of the other Six Flags parks too. Like, we'll look on the map later. It just doesn't make sense. Like, there's either no theming at all, or you've got, like, DC characters and DC rides just slapped in randomly in different spots. So, like, you've got Batman all the way across the park from, like, the DC area, and where, like, Mr. Freeze is and all that other stuff. And then you've got other rides that are just generically named, like The Boss or American Thunder, which the theming to American Thunder and Screaming Eagle are way too similar. It'd be cool if they were like in the same area. They could both be themed to something similar, but they're both wooden roller coasters, both like America themed. So they could have been more unique with that. And same with like the naming of Boomerang and Ninja. Those are just very generic. And there's really hardly any theming at all in most of the park. But I mean, the park does look nice. It doesn't look bad or anything, but there's just not a lot of theming. So 4 out of 10. Now for food, we did not eat there. I would definitely not recommend eating at a Six Flags park if you can help it. But we are going to go to the website and check out what they have to offer as of food options. So let's see. They've got location next to the Palace Theater. That's just what it's called. Footlong hot dogs, chili cheese dogs, seasoned fries. They've got pretzels, popcorn, and nachos, like a lot of like fair food. It looks like Dippin' Dots, Chopsticks, that's probably the best food option here, I would guess. Is it's like Asian cuisine, so probably similar to Panda Express, but not as good as Panda Express. They've got corn on the cob, it looks like, ears of corn, turkey legs, burgers, chicken tenders, waffle fries, of course, ice cream and waffle cones, more nachos, corn dogs, chicken tenders, beer and soda, more turkey legs and pretzels. Like, you can see a common theme here. Like, it's all like fair food. There's not a lot of healthy options. There's not a lot of like sit down, like nicer options. It's all just like either finger food or snacks or just really unhealthy, which I mean is to be expected at amusement parks. But there's a lot of other parks. Just about every other chain has other options at this point other than popcorn and pretzels and, you know, a turkey leg and some chicken tenders and Dippin' Dots, you know. Funnel cakes, of course. Got popcorn and pretzels. I guess these are just different eating areas that all offer the same kind of food. This looks probably to be the best food. Smoked pulled pork sandwiches, that sounds good. It looks pretty good. But it is Six Flags quality we're talking here. Burgers, chicken tenders, shakes. Yeah, that's pizza. That picture of that pizza looks pretty horrible, honestly. That looks pretty bad. What is that? Just being honest, you know? Let's see, I don't even know what is that. What is that twisted thing? Pretzels, I don't even know what that is. Some of these pictures could be better. You know, as you can see, there's no, like I said, there's no healthy options. There's nothing that really stands out to be like, wow, you know, that's really good food. I want to make sure to buy food when I go to that park. So it's just very, you know, definitely below average. So food, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. You know, it's nothing like horrible, but just not great. Compared to other parks, it's just not great. You know, Cedar Fair parks in general, Cedar Fair parks, any SeaWorld parks, Hershey parks, independent ones, like Hershey Park or Disney, of course. Like, they have a lot of cool food options, and they've really been improving the quality of their food. But as we can see, Six Flags has not improved their food at all. Hopefully they will in the next couple of years, especially with Salim. With Salim there, maybe they can improve at least something there. It's not awful. I didn't eat there, so I'm not the most qualified person to rate the food, but just in terms of the options, it's not great. 4 out of 10. Now, cleanliness and landscaping, this is definitely one of the bright spots of the park. I'm going to give them a 7. You know, there's nothing outstanding, but just the setting of the park looks really nice. There's a lot of shade, a lot of trees, which I really, really enjoy in a park. So I'm going to give them an above average 7 out of 10. The park was relatively clean when we were there. There wasn't a lot of trash. The bathrooms weren't dirty. So 7 out of 10, above average in the cleanliness and landscaping category. All right, so now on to my plan of attack on how to tackle Six Flags St. Louis and their roller coasters in the quickest time possible. The parking lot is out here, so we're going to start out here by the fountain. Also, they have a great welcome plaza. It's been redone recently. It looks awesome with the arch out in front with the sign. All right, so we're going to walk through the front gate first. And then one other thing, like when you walk through the front gate, it doesn't look that great. It looks like you're boxed in by a bunch of buildings. So after you get through the welcome plaza, through the front gate, it looks kind of weird, honestly. So I think that could be redone, but I don't expect that to happen. But anyways, after we get through the front gate, what I would recommend doing first, if you have any of the memberships that have early ride entry, if they're still honoring it next season, which I don't know that they will, you can get in early. They won't open the rides early from my experience, but they will let you into the park early so you can get out in front of the ride that you want to do first before everybody else. So what I would recommend doing is going straight to Mr. Freeze. So this is regardless of whether you have early ride entry or early park entry or not. So I would go out here to the left. Whatever is the fastest way to Mr. Freeze. It looks like going around here is the fastest way. Cross the railroad tracks and to Mr. Freeze. The walk through the queue is pretty long, but you would want to do Mr. Freeze first because Mr. Freeze is probably the most likely to go down during your visit, and it's the best ride in the park, in my opinion, so I would definitely prioritize going on this first. They usually only run one train, too. I think it's due to electricity issues or maybe maintenance or something on the other train, but with one train, the line takes forever, and it has really slow capacity and dispatches, so all the more reason to go to Mr. Freeze first over anything else. So after Mr. Freeze, I would backtrack. If American Thunder is open, I would backtrack to it. So we're going to backtrack around here and go to American Thunder, which will be by the front, but it's got decent capacity. And it's Six Flags St. Louis, so it doesn't get that crowded here anyways on most days. So I would do American Thunder next to get the best 2 rides done with as soon as possible, so you get them done. I always like ending with the roughest rides at the end of the day, just so I don't have a headache the whole day. You know, so these are probably 2 of the smoother rides, for sure. So we're starting off there, and we'll label that as 1, because that's the first leg of the trip through the park. And I'm going to change color. So now we are in blue. So now we're making our way back towards the back of the park, and then I would do Pandemonium next. This one has pretty low capacity. These Gerstlauer spinners don't always put a lot of people on these rides, despite the moving platform. They're pretty slow, and it's like the only kiddie coaster. It's not even a kiddie coaster. It's like one of the family coasters, so a lot of people like it, and a lot of people will ride it. So that will probably be, other than Mr. Freeze, your longest line of the day. So I would recommend getting this earlier in the day as well. So after Pandemonium, what I would do is head on back towards the boss. And do the boss since it's in that area. And really after you do Mr. Freeze, American Thunder, and Pandemonium, the rest of them you can do on your own time. You can do them in any order. They shouldn't be that long a wait. And there's not that many coasters in the park, so it's not like you can't do this in one day. So after the boss, we're going to head on back towards the back of the park to Screamin' Eagle. And I'm not sure if all these paths are open. It's kind of confusing. But we're just going to take the quickest route there. Over here to Catwoman's Whip, which is apparently a really good flat ride. You know, it brings you like 200 feet up in the air and it flips you upside down a bunch of times. We didn't get a chance to ride it, but it was really cool. It looked really cool, and it looks fun. So that looks like a good flat ride. But anyways, so then you're going to do Screamin' Eagle, and then this Larson Loop is not a coaster. It looks like a coaster, and they'll market it as a coaster, but it's not. That's number 6 here, this big circle-looking thing. That's the Larson Loop. And usually it's closed because a lot of people don't like it, and it's probably the first thing that they would get rid of if they don't have enough staff to staff the park. And then you'll do Boomerang, which this Boomerang, it wasn't that bad. It's a Boomerang though, so it is what it is. And then after Boomerang, you'll come over here to River King Mine Train. And then finally, just kind of complete the circle over here. I would not do Ninja. If you're trying to get the credit, then do it. But you're going to want to do this last thing you do, because you're not going to want to ride anything afterwards, most likely. So I'm going to go over here and do Batman next. And Batman will probably have a longer line just because it's close to the front of the park, and a lot of people love it. It's a pretty big GP magnet. So Batman is going to be up here, although it does have good capacity, so the line usually moves pretty quick. So then after Batman, you may or may not want to finish off with Ninja, the worst ride in the park, and then you can go back to the car and take some Advil and take some ibuprofen for your raging headache that you may or may not have afterwards. So just kind of summarizing, I think it's definitely a priority that you should make going on Mr. Freeze first, because it'll have a long line. You know, it may or may not be running. It may go down later in the day. So do Mr. Freeze first thing. And then I would do either Pandemonium or American Thunder next, because Pandemonium gets a long line because it's a family coaster and it has poor capacity. And American Thunder is the next best ride in the park. So I prioritize those two next, and then from there you can pretty much get the rest of the credits in whatever order you want. I just prefer to go to the left first and then make my way all the way around and finish off by the right side of the park, finishing the loop. So my overall experience at this park, you know, it wasn't horrible. It was definitely a good day. We got a lot of rides in because it wasn't very crowded when we were there. This is definitely a park you can do in one day. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Definitely some not great spots, like the employees not knowing the policies and with admission and stuff. That was pretty annoying. And rides not opening on time. But other than that, and American Thunder being closed, that was a big one. Really, really disappointing, and not having any notice on that was a really big bummer. But other than that, you know, it was a pretty good day at the park. The park looks nice. It's got some classic old Woodies. It doesn't have a lot of amazing or outstanding roller coasters, but it does have some unique ones. And definitely worth getting out here to get a ride on Mr. Freeze. Like, I love Mr. Freeze. It was awesome. Definitely get a ride in the back row in the station so that you end up on the top of the spike. Definitely the best seat on that ride. But yeah, so overall, Six Flags St. Louis, it's definitely a good park. It's okay. I'm going to rate it all right. is the final verdict. You know, if you're limited on time of where you can go, you know, maybe you should skip this one over, but it's definitely not a bad park. If you're over by Worlds of Fun or going to Silver Dollar City, it's not that much out of your way to go to Six Flags St. Louis. I think it's about a 4-hour drive from either of those places. So you can do the triangle of Worlds of Fun, Six Flags St. Louis, and Silver Dollar City. That's a really good coaster trip right there. It's definitely not bad, but there's a lot of room for improvement here. And hopefully they can work on that over the next few years. They could also really use a standout coaster. An RMC Boss would do wonders for this park. And they really need a kiddie coaster too. Like, it's such a important need. Even though River King Mine Train is kind of it's a family coaster, it's not a kiddie coaster. Younger kids who are not tall enough to ride can't ride River King Mine Train. And that's like their first roller coaster. They might be pretty scared because it's a pretty janky ride. And you can slide around in your seat a lot. So they might be totally afraid if that's their first ride. Or Pandemonium with spinning. That might scare them off too. But other than that, you know, it's an alright park. Would I go back here again? I'll probably be back here again, just because I didn't get a chance to ride American Thunder, and I want to ride Zambezi Zinger at Worlds of Fun at some point, and I've never been to Silver Dollar City, so I'll probably end up making that triangle trip again at some point in my life. Probably not very soon, probably in like somewhere between 3 to 5 years from now. Hopefully they'll have another new ride by then, but I highly doubt it. I hope you don't think I'm being too negative. I'm trying to be really, you know, objective in these rankings. You know, I like to stay positive, but I also want to give you my honest thoughts and my honest opinions. I think that's the most important thing, is being honest. So I don't want to tell you, oh, this is a great, perfect park, and then you go there and you'd be like, well, what the heck? You said this was going to be awesome, and it sucked, you know? So I think giving you an honest opinion is the most important thing, of course. But also, I like to try to keep things positive too. So it's by no means a bad park, but don't set your expectations too high. It's a Six Flags park, one of the smaller ones that doesn't get as much investment, so it's nothing too special. So the park ends up getting a 5.4 out of 10, which is, you know, very average, reasonable, not horrible, but not good. So that's basically where Six Flags St. Louis falls on my rankings. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more coaster content, more reviews, more tier lists, more scripted videos coming your way soon. And I am Evan from Coaster Revolution. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.